Have they shown you the love and support that someone in your position deserves?
Not really.
Have they really given you the support someone in your position deserves? Not really. That single answer says everything. Tom Aspinall has reportedly walked away from the UFC after growing frustrated with how he was treated. But he didn't just leave quietly, he's now linked to a massive deal tied to a groundbreaking Netflix MMA event set for May 160. So what actually happened behind the scenes? Let's break it down. This Netflix MMA card is unlike anything the sport has ever seen. On May 16, 2026, the Inuit Dome in Los Angeles will host the first fully professional MMA event streamed live to over 300 million Netflix subscribers worldwide. No pay-per-view. No regional restrictions. No extra cost. Just global access on the biggest streaming platform in the world. The card is being promoted by Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions. Headlining the event, Ronda Rousey vs. Gina Carano. Two pioneers of women's MMA finally meeting after more than a decade of fan demand. Rousey enters with a 12-2 record, Carano with 7-1. A fight years in the making, now becoming reality. Then came another major reveal. Just days later, Francis Ngannou was announced as the co-main event, returning to MMA to face Brazil's Felipe Lins in a 5-round heavyweight bout under unified rules. Ngannou confirmed it himself online.
I'm joining the Rousey vs. Carano MMA fight on Netflix. I'll be entering the cage to fight Felipe Lins from Brazil. MVP is the promoter, so who knows? Maybe this means I'm one step closer.
That announcement alone turned the event into one of the most talked about combat sports cards of 2026. A historic main event, Ngannou's return, and a worldwide Netflix audience watching for free. It had everything. Then things escalated. Only days later, Tom Aspinall was seen shaking hands with Eddie Hearn in Monaco. On March 5, 2026, Aspinall officially signed with Hearn's newly launched Matchroom talent agency, becoming its very first client. The deal was described as a commercial partnership aimed at building his brand and financial value. The timing raised serious questions. Eddie Hearn is one of the most powerful figures in boxing, and a longtime rival of Dana White. With the Netflix card already dominating headlines, fans immediately began connecting dots. Social media exploded with speculation. Edited posters, viral debates, and bold claims that Aspinall could appear on the Netflix event, or even fight Ngannou. At the same time, Jon Jones publicly asked for a UFC release, adding more fuel to the fire. Suddenly, the heavyweight division felt unstable, with theories suggesting top fighters could jump ship to Netflix-backed events. Money became the center of the conversation. Many believed Netflix's reach and no PPV model could lead to bigger paydays than the UFC. But here's the reality. Aspinall's deal with Hearn had nothing to do with Netflix, nothing to do with boxing, and nothing to do with leaving the UFC. His contract status remained unchanged. The internet simply ran too far with the story. What was real though was this: a UFC heavyweight champion recovering from serious eye surgery with no fight scheduled, deciding for the first time to bring in outside help to secure his future.
Double eye gouge, so it wasn't even like an eye poke, it was like an eye gouge, so both eyes.
The injury was not minor. Post-fight medical evaluations in Abu Dhabi provided little help.
He took us at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. by the time we got there in Abu Dhabi, and he dropped us off. I don't know what you guys would call it, but in England we'd call it like an A&E, accident and emergency room. I just literally had to wait in a line, like in a queue, for like 3-4 hours just to get seen off a guy who seemed to know absolutely nothing about eyes.
The real treatment began once he returned to the UK, and the findings were even more concerning. An initial corrective procedure was carried out in late December 2025. Then, in February 2026, he underwent a more complex double eye surgery at a specialist clinic in Manchester. The focus was on repairing the superior oblique muscles and relieving pressure on the affected nerves. He spent several days hospitalized, followed by weeks of controlled recovery. By March 2026, there was still no confirmed return.
The damage to me is predominantly done on the back of my eyeball. So I broke my, I don't know if you've seen on the doctor's report, the CT scan showed that I have a crack like on the back of my orbital, like around the back of my eye as well. And the damage is done like on the muscles back there as well. And that's actually the orbital wall or whatever at the back of your eye. It's only as thin as a fingernail, apparently.
The surgery itself carried serious risks. Because of how deep the damage is, far back in the eye socket, surgeons must operate with extreme precision. One wrong move could make things worse. That's why the approach has been cautious. Allow natural healing first. Monitor progress. Only proceed further if absolutely necessary. But while Aspinall focused on recovery, the public narrative began to shift, and not in his favor. Some even accused him of exaggerating or faking the injury. Dana White's post-fight comments didn't help.
Slightly disappointing because he hadn't spoke to me. He hadn't give any he was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on.
The stoppage was framed in a way that suggested Aspinall chose not.
Definitely didn't help the cause. Definitely did.
Then came something even more surprising: silence. Despite everything he had gone through, the injury, surgeries, uncertainty, Aspinall revealed that Dana White never personally reached out to him.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. He actually gave, like I said, he started giving updates that there was nothing wrong with my eye, when that isn't the case.
White later stated publicly that he respected Aspinall and believed he would fight again. But the reality didn't change. The UFC's heavyweight champion went months without a direct call from the head of the promotion. At the same time, Aspinall had now aligned himself with Eddie Hearn commercially, one of White's biggest rivals. That combination sent a strong message across the combat sports world. This was the situation when Aspinall traveled to Monaco to meet Hearn. And what Hearn saw wasn't the dominant, confident champion fans were used to. He described it honestly: he didn't see an unstoppable force. He saw someone struggling, someone a little broken. That moment, Eddie Hearn sitting across from a UFC heavyweight
felt like I met a man that was just a little bit broken, if I'm honest with you. You got to feel like, you've achieved a lot, and you've got to actually feel like you are the man. Put some, well, I know it's a bit cringe, but put some respect on the name. He said, you sure you want to represent me? I'm a bit, bit of a sort of broken record at the moment. I said, what are you talking about? You're the UFC World Heavyweight Champion.
Hearn's response was classic: shift the narrative and take control of the moment. On March 5th, he posted a photo with Aspinall alongside a simple but powerful caption: "Welcome to the team. Time to get what's yours." Short, calculated, and deliberate. This wasn't just another signing, it was a message to the entire industry. That same day, the Matchroom talent agency officially launched, with Aspinall as its very first client. This wasn't an established structure he stepped into, it was a brand new platform built around him from the ground up. The agency's focus is clear: endorsements, digital media, publishing, broadcast opportunities, and long-term commercial strategy. None of it interferes with his UFC contract. His father, Andy Aspinall, continues managing his day-to-day career, while Hearn's team operates on a higher level, opening doors globally that a smaller setup simply couldn't. Aspinall made the goal clear: grow his value beyond just fighting.
Eddie's someone that I've known for a fair bit. I trust Eddie. I want to make as much money and grow commercially as much as possible. Obviously, we're still recovering, but I'm looking to get back in there as soon as possible.
As Ariel Helwani pointed out, Aspinall went his entire career without a professional manager. Despite numerous offers, he always kept things close, trusting his father to handle everything. That's what makes this move stand out. Bringing in someone like Eddie Hearn, an outsider to MMA, shows just how much the last 6 months reshaped his mindset. Hearn's role is straightforward: build the brand, increase the value, and ensure.
I look at you and I think, you are one of the biggest stars in global fight sports. So time to put some respect on that, time to build that brand, build that profile. Our role with you is to sit across the team to do that.
At its core, this deal is about a champion who carried the heavyweight division, suffered a potentially career-altering injury, and decided it was time to think beyond just the octagon. But the story doesn't stop with Aspinall. There's a deeper layer, one that's been building for years: the rivalry between Dana White and Eddie Hearn. For a long time, their relationship remained relatively respectful. That changed in January 2026, when Zuffa Boxing was launched, a direct challenge to the traditional boxing structure, with Matchroom clearly in its sights. Zuffa Boxing is backed by Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority and powered by TKO Group Holdings, the entity formed after the UFC-WWE merger, giving it serious financial strength. The first major move came in February 2026, when Conor Benn, long associated with Matchroom, left and signed with Zuffa Boxing. The move hit hard. Hearn openly called it a betrayal, saying he found out through legal channels rather than directly. White framed it differently, arguing fighters are finally recognizing their value and pursuing better-paying opportunities. The exchange escalated quickly. White criticized Hearn's business model, while Hearn fired back, questioning the financial structure behind Zuffa and accusing White of double standards. And right in the middle of all this stood Tom Aspinall. Many insiders viewed his signing as Hearn's response, a counter move after losing Ben. Whether intentional or not, the optics were obvious. One side secured a major boxing name, the other aligned with a UFC heavyweight champion. So when Dana White was asked about it, everyone paid attention.
Aspinall was signed with Eddie Hearn as a manager. You obviously have some issues with Eddie. What did you think about that news?
We don't have any issues with Eddie.
Dana White's calm public response, comparing Hearn managing Aspinall to Tito Ortiz representing fighters years ago, felt carefully measured, almost designed to show indifference. But in another moment he admitted something important.
Yeah, the company has talked to him. I haven't talked to him, and Tom and I obviously need to talk. You know, he came out recently, or his dad too, saying that, you know, they felt like I don't know how they said it, but that I had sort of on him, and the way that I had spoke about, you know, his eye injury, which was absolutely positively not the case.
White continued to say he respects Aspinall and believes he'll return to fighting. But one fact stands out. The UFC's current heavyweight champion went months without a direct call from the promotion's president, while at the same time aligning himself with White's biggest business rival. That's not insignificant. It's a signal, and the entire combat sports world noticed. Now the real question is what comes next. When Aspinall is medically cleared, when Hearn is advising him on the business side, and when both sides finally sit down after months of tension, that's when the real impact will reveal itself. Strip away the noise, the Netflix rumors, viral theories, and talk of division chaos, and what remains is something much more meaningful. This move changes things. Not in the exaggerated way social media suggested, but in ways that will matter when it truly counts.
There are times where the UFC calls up fighters and says, we're not talking to your manager. They can do whatever they want. They can be like, all right, we'll just sit you.
Traditionally, top UFC fighters have relied on internal management, MMA agents, or family-run teams to handle their careers. A reigning heavyweight champion bringing in one of boxing's most powerful commercial figures, strictly for brand growth, while keeping his UFC contract untouched, is something entirely new at this level. And Tom Aspinall is doing exactly that. If it works, others will follow. Of course, there's potential for friction. The UFC has historically been selective about who it works with. Dana White holds significant control. Matchmaking, scheduling, and title opportunities all run through him. If he doesn't want certain figures involved, he can make that clear. But this deal was carefully designed to avoid that conflict. Hearn's role is advisory, not promotional. He's not negotiating UFC fights. He's building Aspinall's value outside the cage through sponsorships, content, and global positioning. For now, everything remains balanced. The real test comes later, when Aspinall is healthy, when title fights are back on the table, and when Hearn's influence begins shaping expectations. Because having Hearn involved is no small factor. He has decades of experience structuring major fight deals and global endorsements. And Aspinall has already made one thing clear. He doesn't feel fully...
He has a contract with the UFC. This isn't about bringing him into boxing. This is a commercial representation and an advisory capacity to help him across all of his business. Everything that I hear means he can go in there and do serious damage in the boxing world, but it's not on the short-term agenda for sure.
Looking ahead, Hearn has made it clear that boxing isn't the immediate focus. Right now, the priority is simple: get Aspinall healthy and back inside the octagon. But Hearn's track record shows he understands crossover opportunities better than most. In combat sports, careers are short, and the biggest paydays often come when different worlds collide. Beyond the UFC, that door remains open. And with Hearn now shaping the commercial side of Aspinall's career, the groundwork for those future opportunities is already being laid. As for the Netflix event, the May 16th card at the Inuit Dome features Ronda Rousey vs. Gina Carano in the main event, with Francis Ngannou vs. Felipe Lins as the co-main. Additional fights are still being finalized. As of now, Aspinall is not part of that card and no confirmed reports place him there. But the landscape is shifting, with a UFC heavyweight champion now aligned with Eddie Hearn, John Jones exploring his options, and Netflix investing heavily in combat sports. Scenarios that once seemed unrealistic no longer feel impossible. Right now, what Aspinall has done goes beyond a single fight. He's opened a new path for elite MMA fighters in how they approach business. A champion, at the top of the sport,